think hopefully when the weather gets better, that protest will pick up. I spoke to John Lewis earlier this month, and as soon as I can, we're going to have some people to go to Atlanta when he leaves Washington and goes back home to Atlanta to have a meeting to prepare for next year's 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, which is in August. And so we're trying to get committees together throughout the United States. We will be in contact with the 188 Freedom Riders. I'll be in contact with those 40 students that I was on the bus with, and then they will have just a lot of people that they can get in touch with to work on the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. So we're still trying to do something. 1960 was a 50th anniversary, 61, 63, and these anniversaries, a lot from 2010 on up, there's going to be a 50th anniversary. March the 5th, 4th and 5th of this year, the church that I play for, they're going down to Selma, Alabama for their anniversary. And I think that 50th anniversary is 2013, I'm not really sure, but I think it's 13. And usually they have like thousands, 50, 60, 70,000 people just to walk across that bridge in Selma, Alabama. So that's what we're working on, to make the people aware. As I said, hopefully the weather will clear up and Occupy will get strong again, and they will reorganize what they're doing in Nashville. I had a chance to talk to them, so did Bernard Lafayette, about organizing first. You got people there with tents on the plaza where they're occupying the plaza. But I also said, the police department said they couldn't afford the money to protect them. And I said, well, you don't need to protect them. We have a cell phone now. If they need protection, they'll call you. You don't have to come and have your people stationed hanging around paying them. We'll have a cell phone. We'll do it like a neighborhood watch. We'll have one spokesperson to speak to the police or to the press. Everybody else, you just stay right over there. Stay away from your spokesperson. You will also have a person with a camcorder to record this. Anytime your spokesperson is busy talking to somebody, have the person with the camcorder to record. You will also do a neighborhood watch because they're there 24/7. So during the night, you'll have somebody to walk through to make sure that nothing happens. Now, the homeless are also involved, and the police tried to say that the homeless were bringing in drugs and a whole lot of other things. So we had to make sure that no drugs and things were coming in, and they couldn't keep the homeless out because that's what we're fighting for, is the homeless. That's a part of the program. And so in Nashville, we haven't had any incidents. And what they want is an incident. That's what they want. They want you to fight back. And I also told them if there was an arrest made, you just simply lie down on the ground, let them handcuff you, pick you up, put them to work, pick you up, and put you in a paddy wagon. Don't go freely. Don't just get up and walk into the paddy wagon. Make them work. So that's what we did. We just went limp. And you had to pick us up and put us wherever you wanted us. And don't fight back. And that's what happened in New York with the big crowd. Now they moved that park. And then you have to stay clean. You have to keep the place clean. That's very important. You have a cleanup person. And so that's what I talked to them about in Nashville. So we haven't had any problems. Yes?
This is more of a comment. I really appreciated in the sermon this morning your references to Scripture, because I think a lot of time we get caught up in the real world and we forget there's a biblical foundation for what we're doing, for where we get our strength, and for what we need to do. And I think that that's also important as we're teaching our history. We need to remember God has given us a plan, and we need to look at it, study it, and live it.
That's right. And that's what Lawson did for us. Mm-hmm. He saw the plan, and along with Reverend Kelly Smith, because he's the one that initiated the plan in Nashville. He just called on Lawson because Lawson was more knowledgeable of nonviolence, and he taught us that. And as you that we had was the Bible. Yes, sir.
Just to expound on that a little bit, you talked about the training that you got and that you were grounded in the teachings of Jesus Christ and of Gandhi and of Dr. King. Can you talk a little bit about what that training was and how it made a difference for you?
Well, first of all, you had to get your mind in the right place. And imagine this as a stool at a lunch counter. And so Dr. Lawson would talk to us about nonviolence, the methods of nonviolence, what to do in certain situations, and you wanted to look straight ahead. First of all, we had to be well dressed. And I'm so glad that sagging wasn't in doing that. Because if you were sagging, you could not have taken part in the movement. Well, I won't say in the movement, but you could not have gone downtown to sit at the lunch counter if you were sagging. So we would, if you look at the documentaries of Nashville, you would see that we were dressed, well dressed. That was the main thing, that we were well dressed when we went downtown. So you had your books, you put your books on the counter, you order. Naturally, they're going to tell you that we don't serve, using the N-word, some of them, we just don't serve them. And you don't say anything, you just order. There's no comment, you know, somebody might say, well, we don't serve ends. And I said, well, I don't eat them, so. We didn't go that way. So you would get in, maybe say a prayer while you're sitting there, get into this prayer. You might start humming songs or just getting into your homework. And if something happens over here, over there, you just keep doing what you're doing. There was a scene where there's a white exchange student being beaten. He was from Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm trying to think of his name right now. But Jim Peck. No, that's with CORE. This was in the Nashville sit-in. I'll think of it in a minute. I met him last year after 51 years. And I was a guest speaker for the National Council on Social Studies in Denver, Colorado. And his roommate was at the same hotel I was staying in, and he said that he was there. He was going out to his old roommate's house. I said, well, bring him down. And I'm speaking over in the auditorium. And so when they came and they saw all these badges, you know, when you go to conference, you got badges all over you. They said, well, we can't go in with you because everybody's got on badges and they won't let us in. I said, you're my guest. You just stay with me. Come down front and sit down front. After they showed the documentary, then I'm brought up on stage for Q&A. And before I started answering any questions, the first thing I said was, I want to introduce you to a young man that you saw in the documentary. He was a lot younger, blonde hair. I said, he's sitting right down front. And I introduced him. He stood up. Now, since that, Facing History and ourselves, they've had him all over Colorado, teaching in school about going to different schools, talking about nonviolence. And he's been busy ever since. But I wanted them to see somebody from the sit-in movement, even though I was a part of the sit-in movement. I'll think of his name. But where were we?
We were talking about the importance of the training.
The importance of the training, yes. I think that you could have training without hitting someone in the training, without actually being hit, actually having a cigarette put out in your head or being pulled off the stool. But you don't get the same effect. That's play acting. But then when you play act and you're actually pulling somebody off the stool, and you're playing the part of the hoodlum, and you're pulling off the stool, you're being called, you're calling them all kind of names. You're calling the white students different names and nigger lovers and whatever else they were called. And why are you sitting at the stool with all of these niggers here? And you can eat if you want to. And so from that viewpoint, even the white students had to make up their minds, you know, I can take this. Just like Jim Swerve, my hat is off to Jim because he went through a lot even after he was not able to go back on the Freedom Rides. And the reason he back was because of his parents, not that he didn't want to go. As badly beaten as he was, he wanted to rejoin the Freedom Ride. So we're singing songs, we're humming songs in our mind while all of this is going on behind us. And then after we do that, Jim Lawson is observing our reactions. He's standing out in front and observing our reaction. And then we have a Q&A about what we just did. And so, for example, we had a workshop and a young man said, if a young lady is sitting next to me and they pull her off that stool and start beating her, what am I supposed to do? And so I guess everybody was kind of thinking, this was early into our training, thinking, well, you can help her. But Lawson said, no, you don't do anything. You just sit and do what you're supposed to do. You're there for nonviolence, because what will happen if you get up and she's being beaten and you get up to help her, then more people are going to join in. Now you got two of you down on the floor beating. And the main thing is that she's here for the same reasons that you are. Just because she's a female doesn't make a difference. We're both here to try and integrate this lunch counter. And I think that the women who went to Parchment Penitentiary, who were on the Freedom Ride, just like my dear friend, she was a white student from one of the colleges in Nashville, when she told Siegenthaler, I've been trained in this. She said, I can take it, and this blood is running all down her face. She said, I can take it. I'm nonviolent. See, so she was in a whole another world. And you have to remove yourself from what's going on at that time. Because if you really think about it, and then that's when the fear comes in, if you think about what's going on. So you have to remove yourself from what's happening around you, even if you're being beaten. And Jim Swerve said it best. He said, if anybody's going to die, it's going to be me, because I'm white. And he was prepared for that. And even after he got out of the hospital in Montgomery, he went home for 2 weeks, and then he went back to Fisk, because before he went on the Freedom Ride, Fisk being a private school, he asked his instructor, can I take my exam when I get back to Nashville? I don't know when I'll be back, but can I take my final exam? And he said yes. So Jim went home for 2 weeks. He came back to Nashville, and on the day that he was to take his final exam, he walked out of the dorm, stepped off the sidewalk, and passed out, because the doctors in Montgomery didn't catch the fact that he had 3 fractured vertebrae. And so it knocked him out, and they sent him over to Meharry, and they put the ace bandage around him, and then he took his final exam. Well, he called his mother to say, I'm going back on the Freedom Ride. I look at that as, if you look at what's happening in Afghanistan and with our military, they get injured, they get hurt, and the first thing they want to do is go back with the people that they were in boot camp with. Because it's just that tight, that's that brotherly love, brother and sisterly love, that they want to go back. They feel like they're being missed. They're not there to play the role that they're supposed to do to protect each other. So his mother told him that he needed to come home, because it took a toll on his father when they saw him lying in that hospital bed with that newspaper in his eye, going out, he almost lost an eye and some teeth and what have you. So he went back home, but it took him a long time to get over that fact that he was not in Parkland with the rest of us. And the same thing happened with the young lady that was Solange McCullough, who was arrested. She was in the first group from Nashville to Birmingham, a white female. She was arrested, fingerprinted, booked like everybody else, but then she was called to Bull Connor's office. And when she walked in Bull Connor's office there, her father was standing there. He had flown in from New York and took her back home. And it took a long time for them to come together again, because she wanted to be, she said, I finally found something that I want to do to make a difference, and you're taking me away from it. So there was some friction there. I saw your hand.